Sergio Aguero, the heart that couldn't handle the dream. Sergio Aguero lived football, showing up with intensity and skill that made him unforgettable. At Manchester City, he became more than just a goal-scorer. He became a symbol. 184 goals in 275 Premier League appearances, the club's all-time leading scorer. That moment in 2012, the 93-20 goal that won City their first Premier League title in 44 years, turned him into a true Manchester City legend. Pep Guardiola couldn't even say goodbye properly. When Aguero's City career ended in 2021, Guardiola broke down in tears.
He's a special person for all of us. He's so nice, he's so nice. We cannot replace him. We cannot.
This wasn't a manager selling a player. This was a man watching a legend leave. Then came the dream move, Barcelona, summer 2021. After a decade in England, Aguero finally got what he'd always wanted, to play alongside Lionel Messi, his best friend, his brother, the godfather of his firstborn son. They'd grown up together in Argentina's youth teams. This was supposed to be the fairy tale ending. But fate intervened before a single ball was kicked. In pre-season, Aguero suffered a serious calf injury. 10 weeks out, the dream was on hold. By the time he recovered, Messi was gone, forced out by Barcelona's financial collapse. The reunion never happened. Still, Aguero pushed on. October 17, 2021, Camp Nou, his long-awaited debut against Valencia. The crowd roared when he came on. It felt like the start of something, even if Messi wasn't there. A week later came El Clasico, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. The world was watching. Aguero came off the bench and scored a stoppage-time consolation goal, his first goal for Barcelona. It should have been the beginning. Instead, it became the end. 6 days later, October 30th against Alaves. Midway through the first half, Aguero clutched his chest. The panic in his eyes said everything. He couldn't breathe properly. He was rushed to hospital. The diagnosis came fast: cardiac arrhythmia, an irregular heartbeat that could kill him if he kept playing. Doctors told him the truth no footballer ever wants to hear. If you continue, it could be fatal. 3 months later, December 15, 2021, Aguero sat at a press conference. Gerard Piqué by his side, cameras flashing, his hands shaking. Before he could finish his statement, he broke down. The message became clear. Football was over. The cruelest part? Argentina won the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Messi finally lifted the trophy he'd chased his entire life. Aguero was there in the stands, celebrating, crying, but not playing. He'd spent 16 years fighting for that moment. When it came, his body had already betrayed him. His heart quite literally stopped him from living his dream. Neymar Jr., the body that breaks in crucial moments. Neymar's curse isn't random, it's rhythmic. Every 4 years, like clockwork, when Brazil's World Cup hopes rise, his body collapses beneath the weight. 2014, Brazil hosting the World Cup. Neymar carries the nation's expectations like Atlas with the world. Quarter-final against Colombia, July 4th. Juan Zúñiga's knee crashes into his spine. Fractured vertebra. Tournament over. 5 days later, without Neymar, Brazil faced Germany in the semi-final. 7-1. The most humiliating defeat in their history. Neymar watched from a hospital bed while his country burned with shame. 2018, Russia. Neymar broke his 5th metatarsal in late February, just 3 months before the World Cup. He rushes back, clearly not fully fit. Every challenge makes him wince. The world mocks his theatrical rolling on the ground, but studies later show he was genuinely fouled more than any player at the tournament. Brazil lost to Belgium in the quarterfinals. Neymar leaves in tears. 2022, Qatar. Neymar finally looks ready, fully fit, sharp, hungry. Second group stage match against Serbia, he suffers an ankle sprain, lateral ligament damage. Misses 2 group games and the round of 16. Returns for the quarter-final against Croatia and scores a stunning extra-time goal, equaling Pele's all-time Brazil scoring record of 77 goals. Croatia equalise minutes later. Penalties. Brazil lose. Neymar sits on the pitch, face buried in his shirt. October 2023, World Cup qualifier against Uruguay in Montevideo. Neymar tears his ACL and meniscus in his left knee. Stretcher, tears, surgery. Recovery timeline, 12 months minimum. But that wasn't the end of the nightmare. October 2024. After over a year out, Neymar finally returns. 26 minutes. That's all he gets before another hamstring tear sidelines him for 6 more weeks. He joined Santos in January 2025, desperate for a redemption arc. More muscle injuries follow, April, then September, each one stealing weeks, each one pushing the World Cup further away. He's now 33 years old. The pattern is so consistent, it feels scripted. Neymar rises, Brazil believes. His body breaks, hope dies. His curse isn't that he gets hurt, it's that fate only seems to remember him when his country needs him most. And now, with the 2026 World Cup approaching, nobody knows if he'll even make the squad.
Alexandre Pato, the curse of hype. Alexandre Pato arrived at AC Milan in 2007 like a prophecy. 18 years old, heir to Ronaldinho, the next great Brazilian striker. He scored on his debut. By 21, he'd netted over 40 goals for Milan and looked destined for future Balon d'Or conversations. Then his body started breaking. Thigh strains, hamstring tears, recurring muscle problems that baffled Milan's medical staff. Every scan came back inconclusive. Muscles that should have healed kept tearing. Pato would return, play brilliantly for 2 games, then spend another month on the treatment table. The cycle became predictable and maddening. Off the pitch, the spotlight burned him. High-profile relationship with Brazilian actress Stephanie Brito. Endorsement deals, paparazzi following his every move. Pato later admitted the pressure of being Brazil's next great hope created stress his teenage mind couldn't process. He elaborated with transparent honesty. "I began dreaming too much. Even though I was still working hard, my imagination was taking me to all kinds of places. In my head, I was already holding the Balon d'Or." By 2013, Milan gave up, sold him back to Brazil. He drifted through Corinthians, Sao Paulo, then China's Tianjin Quanjian for absurd money but zero passion. A brief loan to Chelsea in 2016 yielded 2 appearances. He finished his career in MLS, scoring occasionally but always feeling like a shadow of what could have been. Pato's curse wasn't bad luck, it was timing. Everything came too fast, the talent, the fame, the expectations. He peaked at 20 and spent the next decade trying to catch up to a version of himself that no longer existed. The boy who had everything lost it before he learned how to hold on. Marco Reus, devastating injuries.
Marco Reus should have been a World Cup winner. Instead, he became football's greatest what if. 2014. Reus is in peak form at Borussia Dortmund, providing creativity that Joachim Löw's system desperately needs. Final warm-up friendly against Armenia, June 6th. Reus tears his ankle ligament, ruled out of the tournament. Germany go to Brazil without him and win the World Cup. His teammates lift the trophy while he watches from his couch in Dortmund. Euro 2016. Reus suffers a groin injury weeks before the tournament. Germany crash out in the semi-finals against France, lacking the creative spark Reus would have provided. Coincidence? Maybe. But fast forward to the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Finally healthy, Reus makes the squad. Germany entered as defending champions, then imploded spectacularly, finishing bottom of their group behind South Korea and Mexico. It's one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history, and the one tournament Reus actually attends becomes a national embarrassment. Euro 2021. Reus is fit again. He chooses not to go, citing post-season fatigue and the need to manage his body. Germany reach the round of 16, lose to England. He could have played, but didn't. World Cup 2022. Another injury, another absence. The cycle repeats. At 33, Reus finally retires from international football, having earned just 48 caps across 11 years. For context, Thomas Müller earned 131, Toni Kroos earned 114. Reus was as talented as both, but his body only cooperated when Germany didn't need him. The curse isn't fragility, it's precision, fate's uncanny ability to break him on his way to the biggest stage. Eden Hazard, the ghost of the Bernabeu. Eden Hazard was once untouchable. At Chelsea, defenders couldn't get near him without fouling. Between 2012 and 2019, he was the most fouled player in the Premier League, by a landslide. Over 600 fouls. His hips would drop, defenders would lunge, and he'd glide past them like they were traffic cones. 2 Premier League titles, a World Cup bronze medal, 6 Player of the Season awards. Real Madrid came calling in 2019 with a transfer worth up to £130 million. It was supposed to be his crowning. Instead, it became his funeral. Training session. First week at Madrid, thigh injury. Minor, they said. It wasn't. Over the next 4 years, Hazard suffered 18 separate injuries. 2 fractured ankles, multiple thigh strains, recurring muscle tears. He played just 73 games across 4 seasons. For context, Vinicius Jr. played 221 in that same period. But the numbers don't capture the horror. When Hazard did play, he looked terrified. That signature shimmy, the fearless 1-versus-1 dribbling, gone, replaced by hesitation. A split-second pause before every touch, as if his brain was calculating injury risk instead of instinct. Defenders noticed. They stopped respecting him. The man who once danced through defenses now flinched at challenges. The cruelest irony? Real Madrid won everything without him. La Liga 2022, Champions League 2022. They lifted the biggest trophy in club football and Hazard barely featured. 2 substitute appearances, 0 goals, 0 assists. He wasn't just injured, he was erased. The Bernabeu forgot he existed. By 2023, Madrid terminated his contract. He retired at 32, years before his talent should have faded. His curse wasn't just the injuries. It was becoming invisible at the exact moment he'd worked his entire life to reach. Paul Pogba, the prodigy who lost his way. Paul Pogba had everything. World Cup winner at 25. Manchester United's record signing. Juventus legend. Viral moments. Dab celebrations. Custom haircuts. He was football's biggest personality. And maybe that was the problem. The injuries started stacking in 2019. Ankle issues, surgery, then more surgeries. Pogba missed entire seasons at United, frustrating fans who'd watched him dominate at Juventus. When he played, brilliance flickered. Hollywood passes, surging runs, but consistency vanished. Managers couldn't trust him. Mourinho froze him out. Solskjaer tried to rebuild around him, but Pogba's body kept breaking. By 2022, United let him leave for free. Back to Juventus. Full circle. Then everything collapsed. Off-pitch chaos exploded. In 2022, Pogba's older brother Matthias posted cryptic videos online, claiming Paul had hired a witch doctor to curse Kylian Mbappe. Pogba confirmed he'd been the victim of extortion attempts, allegedly from his own brother and childhood friends demanding millions. The story became a media circus, witchcraft accusations and all, though Pogba denied the Mbappe curse claims. Worse was coming. September 2023. Pogba fails a doping test. DHEA, a banned substance, detected after a Juventus match. He claims contamination from a supplement. March 2024. 4-year ban, reduced to 18 months on appeal, but the damage was done. Pogba, once untouchable, was now exiled from football until March 2025. At 31, his prime faded into nothing. The tragedy is that Pogba, along with anyone else, genuinely believed he was destined for greatness. Maybe he was, but the higher he flew, the more violently he fell. Injuries, family betrayal, doping ban. His curse isn't bad luck. It's a life where every triumph came with an invisible cost, and every spotlight revealed something darker lurking behind. But the story isn't over yet. Now 33, Pogba is at Monaco in France. It's a redemption arc written in desperation and hope. He's training, rebuilding, searching for one more chance. The 2026 World Cup looms on the horizon. France's squad, Mbappe leading the line. And maybe, just maybe, space for a prodigal son to return. One last dance, one final chance to rewrite the curse. Whether his body and fate will allow it remains football's most haunting question.
Ronaldo Nazario, the cursed knee. Ronaldo Nazario's story doesn't make sense. No football career should have survived what he did and still become the greatest striker of his generation. But Ronaldo wasn't human. He was something else entirely, until his body reminded him otherwise. At 20, he was unstoppable. PSV, Barcelona, Inter Milan, 97 goals in 104 games. Balon d'Or winner at 21. Then, November 1999, playing for Inter against Lecce, his right knee exploded. Patella tendon rupture. The surgery was successful. 5 months later, April 2000, his comeback game against Lazio, 6 minutes in, the same knee buckled again. Complete rupture. His physiotherapist later described it, his kneecap exploded and ended up in the middle of his thigh. He'd returned too soon. His career should have ended there. He was 23. Instead, Ronaldo disappeared for 2 years, went to Brazil, rebuilt his body from scratch. When he returned for the 2002 World Cup, nobody knew what to expect. What they got was magic. 8 goals, Golden Boot, World Cup champion, Ballon d'Or again. He'd resurrected himself. But every return cost him something. His knees held together, but his metabolism collapsed. Weight gain. The explosive sprint that made him unstoppable was fading. By 2006, he was visibly heavier. Real Madrid sold him to AC Milan in 2007. He played brilliantly in flashes, hat-tricks, wonder goals, but injuries kept circling back. In February 2008, another knee injury against Livorno. This time, his left knee. Patella tendon, 3rd rupture. His body was giving up. Ronaldo retired in 2011, aged 34, crying during the press conference. "My body doesn't respond anymore," he said. He finished with 414 career goals, 2 World Cups, 2 Ballon d'Ors, and knees held together by surgical tape and willpower. A god trapped in mortal flesh, brilliant enough to return from death, but never strong enough to stay. Michael Owen, the explosiveness that faded. Michael Owen was never supposed to last. His entire game was built on something that couldn't: explosive pace. At 18, he destroyed Argentina at the 1998 World Cup with a solo goal that made him England's next golden boy. By 22, he'd won the Ballon d'Or, the youngest Englishman ever to claim it. The award that's left a trail of victims behind it, players who touch that golden ball and never quite maintain the level that got them there. But speed always has a price. Owen's hamstrings were ticking time bombs. Liverpool overused him. 40, 50 games a season, no rest, just constant sprinting. By his mid-20s, the muscle fibers started shredding. Strain after strain. He'd recover, play 3 games, then pull up again. The explosiveness that made him unstoppable became the thing that destroyed him. The breaking point came in 2006, World Cup in Germany, England versus Sweden, group stage. 30 minutes in, Owen plants his foot and his knee buckles. A CL tear. Ruptured. He crumples to the ground, screaming. That was the symbolic end, not officially, but spiritually. He'd returned from surgery, but the fearlessness never came back. At Real Madrid, Newcastle, Manchester United, Stoke, Owen kept playing, but he was a different player. Tentative, fragile. Managers treated him like porcelain, rationing his minutes. He'd score occasionally, poachers' goals, tap-ins, but the electric runs were gone. Owen retired in 2013, aged 33, with 40 England goals, but a career defined by what if? What if his hamstrings had held? What if he'd managed his body better? What if he hadn't peaked so young? His curse was simple. The gift that made him special had an expiration date. Romelu Lukaku, cursed in the moments that matter.
Romelu Lukaku scores goals, always has. 300-plus career goals across 5 leagues. Consistent, reliable, powerful. Yet somehow, he spent his entire career being punished for existing. At Manchester United, Jose Mourinho signed him for £75 million. Too heavy, pundits said. First touch like a trampoline, they mocked. Lukaku scored 42 goals in 2 seasons, respectable numbers, but United fans never accepted him. Sold to Inter Milan in 2019 for less than they paid. At Inter, he finally found peace. 64 goals in 95 games, Serie A champion in 2021, ending Inter's 11-year drought. He was loved. Then Chelsea came calling with £97.5 million, record signing, homecoming hero. 3 games in, he gave an interview saying he missed Inter, wasn't happy with Chelsea's tactics. The fan base turned on him instantly. By January, he was back at Inter on loan. His dream return already poisoned. International football is worse. Euro 2020, Lukaku misses a crucial chance against Italy in the quarter-finals. Belgium lose. 2022 World Cup, Belgium's golden generation crashes out in the group stage. Lukaku comes on as a substitute against Croatia, misses 3 sitters in 10 minutes, hits the post, skies over the bar, header straight at the keeper. Belgium eliminated. Lukaku scores wherever he goes. The curse is timing, fate's ability to make him fail at the exact moments that define legacies. He's 1 goal short of redemption, 1 missed chance away from being mocked again. For a striker who's done everything right statistically, his story still feels unfinished and cursed.
Frank Ribery, the injustice he never escaped. 2013 was Frank Ribery's year. Bayern Munich won the treble. Bundesliga, DFB Pokal, Champions League. Ribery was their engine. 22 assists, 11 goals, Player of the Year in Germany and Europe. Messi and Ronaldo dominated the Balon d'Or for years, but 2013 felt different. Ribery had a genuine case. Voting closed in November. Ribery was leading in most predictions. Then FIFA did something unprecedented. They extended the deadline. Cristiano Ronaldo had just scored a hat-trick in a Portugal playoff to qualify for the World Cup. Suddenly, momentum shifted. New votes came in. Ronaldo won. Ribery finished 3rd behind Messi. The football world erupted in debate. Had FIFA changed the rules to favour Ronaldo? Ribery never recovered emotionally. Years later, he still brought it up in interviews. It was injustice, he told French media in 2018. I gave everything that year. I deserved it. The bitterness never faded. He won every team trophy possible, but spoke like a man who'd lost the only prize that mattered, individual recognition from the sport itself. The twist is that Ribery's career remained excellent. Bundesliga titles kept coming, but he never reached that 2013 peak again. Some say the Balon d'Or snub broke something inside him, not his ability, but his belief that football rewarded fairness. He retired in 2023, aged 40, still muttering about what could have been. Ribery's curse wasn't losing. It was being so close to immortality that he could taste it. Then watching the rules change and the door slam shut, leaving him trapped in a legacy that always feels 1 trophy short. Aaron Ramsay, the curse the internet invented. Aaron Ramsay never asked to be football's grim reaper. He just scored goals, normal, regular goals, and the world decided they meant death. May 2011. Ramsay scores for Arsenal against Manchester United. The next day, Osama bin Laden is killed in Pakistan. Coincidence? October 2011. Ramsay scores against Tottenham. 3 days later, Steve Jobs dies. Then he scores against Marseille. Muammar Gaddafi is killed the next day. The internet notices. By 2013, the Ramsay curse was folklore. Every goal triggered a social media frenzy. Who's going to die now? Whitney Houston, David Bowie, Alan Rickman, Robin Williams, Paul Walker. The list grew. Tabloids wrote articles.
Betting companies offered novelty odds on which celebrity would die within 72 hours of a Ramsay goal. It became a morbid game. But here's the reality. Ramsay scored 80-plus career goals between 2008 and 2023. Celebrities die constantly. The pattern only worked because people selectively remembered the coincidences. Only about 14 of his goals were actually followed by notable deaths. Confirmation bias on a global scale. Ramsay himself laughed it off. "It's ridiculous. I've scored goals and nobody died." But people only talk about the ones where someone did. The curse wasn't real. It was the internet's need to find meaning in randomness, to turn coincidence into mythology. The real curse was how the narrative stuck. Ramsay became known less for his football, solid midfielder, FA Cup hero, and more for a superstition he never created. His legacy got hijacked by memes. That's the cruelest part, not the deaths, but that a footballer's career can be reduced to a joke the internet won't let die. Every curse in football teaches the same lesson. Talent isn't enough. Hard work isn't enough. And sometimes even destiny bends the wrong way. These players gave everything, and football took pieces they needed to feel complete. Great careers on paper. But these curses created question marks that turned legends into what-ifs. Subscribe if you want more stories that pull back the curtain on football's cruelest truths, because the game we love doesn't always love us back, and someone needs to tell the stories.